Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. I hope everyone's having a fantastic start to your day. It's a little crazy around the markets today so far. A lot of action going on. Banks still continuing to have positive quarterly earnings would probably be my top takeaway. But what we're seeing is they're having less of an influence on the market. And I pull up our banks here, you can see Bank of America, which had, decent earnings reports. You can see they had a beat both on EPS of about 6% and top line revenue, down about a half a point. It was down a little bit more earlier this morning. It had tried to regain some strength, but it is not having the same type of move we saw yesterday when JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, and a lot of the others sort of reported. We did see a big spike up yesterday in a lot of these names. Most of them are retracing today. The biggest one that is bucking that trend is Morgan Stanley. Morgan Stanley was up about 4.76% yesterday. As everybody else's earnings, in the bank sector picked up, they saw some, nice moves to the upside. And then when they released earnings today and had, some nice reports there, they posted both profit and top line revenue beats, up about 2.29% here. So one of the bigger takeaways I have is that. Second big takeaway is chips. Watch the chip sector today. TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor, as we know, the second largest chip manufacturer. You know what? I actually have to look that. Is it still? Broadband might have broken ahead of it. Let's see. Broadband, I used to have these, when I did this, they were sorted by market cap size. They're 1.07 trillion. So no, TSM's going to be bigger than that. No, they're not. So broadband is now. Let me move that actually here. Broadband is larger, but the third largest of the semiconductor chip companies out there, up about 5.43 this morning. They actually did that. They had a top line revenue beat. Their profits slightly missed estimates, but I do have to point out that they were well above last year. It was a 57% year over year gain by TSM. And as you can see here, most of the chip companies catching some, positive wind from that. NVIDIA up 1.5%, AVGO up 2.7%. Another big winner so far today, ASML. Earlier this morning, this was the largest of the S&P or NASDAQ 100 that were in the green, up about 4.39%. They have come down a little bit from those highs that I'd seen earlier. But again, they're definitely getting some love here. And pretty much across the board, most of the chips are moving towards the upside. Whew, that's a lot for right there. We did have some economic data today. We had initial jobless claims. Let me pull up those numbers for us. I will start with that. They are blaming the LA fires for a larger number here. It's up to about $217,000. It had been forecast to come in right around 210,000. And that is a rise of about 14,000, jobless claims over the week. And as I said, they are saying that a lot of this is due to California, where, people are collecting unemployment as the fires rage through there, unfortunately. So that is definitely, affected that number. But as Stephen Flanagan says, and I would point out, all these numbers are in the rear view mirror. We're trying to drive a car forward by looking in the rear view mirror. Probably not the best way to do it, but that is sort of how we are riding today. So those were the two. That was it. In U.S. retail sales, where I have numbers on there too. U.S. retail sales. So retail sales were up, but they missed again a little bit expectations. They rose 0.4% in December, but they were expected to rise a little bit more than that, 0.5. Again, not a huge miss by any means there, but it was a slight miss there. Put that info there for you. And but one takeaway that I have that was pretty good from retail sales was that Q4 sales actually rose 3.7% versus, year prior. So I do think that's a pretty good sign there. And sticking sort of in retail sales. Target actually, and we know Target had been under fire as a lot of the big box stores sort of took over Costco and Walmart, and those companies really saw, and Amazon saw great growth in their stock during December. What we haven't really seen that from Target, and we zone out. You can see that they. Oh, that's why. Like, this does not look right. There we go. They really gapped down here in mid-November on their earnings report. People were not happy there, and we saw that big drop. It had been making a nice move back up, and I'm a little confused as to why investors are reacting so poorly to the fact that they actually are saying their fourth quarter sales was better than estimated, and now they're looking for growth of about 1.5% in Q4 versus their former projection, which was right at zero, flat. So market not taking well to that. This is one, I am going to be interested. I mentioned it last time, and I didn't get in here down when it was at that 120 level for this run back up. If we see a move back here into that 130 level here today, I do think that would be a little really oversold, and I would be interested in maybe picking something up there on Target. So I just wanted to pull that up. What else did we have? I think those were the two big economic data. We do have Philly Fed manufacturing survey along with home builder confidence index. Let me just check here and see if those numbers have come in yet. I can do that. I am back at the home office here, so a little bit easier for me to manage these screens. Where's my economic data? If I can find my spot. I'm looking in the wrong place. Definitely not going to find it right there. There we go. Sorry about that. And today, yes, we have. So we had the initialist jobless claim. We talked about that. Estimated to be 210K, came in at 217. U.S. retail sales, we just talked about that. Import price index came in. It was supposed to be a negative 0.3%, came in much higher at 0.1%. Here it is. Philadelphia Fed manufacturing came in at 44.3. Was estimated to be coming lower than that. So it was a beat, but I do want to point out that 44.3 is still not a great number. You sort of consider 50 as that midline. Anything above 50, we are expanding, and anything below 50, we're really contracting. 44, is not bad, but not great. We're still waiting for business inventories at 10 o'clock and home builder confidence index at 10 o'clock also. As we start to look at what was going on across the world while we slept, let's first take a look at gold. Gold broke back above 2,700 for the first time since mid-December. And if we pull it up here, it has been moving up nicely this morning, really trying to make a run here. I talked about it. If it makes a run, it gets above this 27.22, you could see a run all the way up to the all-time high. So there, I am looking at that 27.22 area. Any kind of break above that by gold would give you a continuation play here up towards its all-time high at 27.90. So again, gold moving up nicely. Silver also holding above that 30 handle. The other thing I love to see here on silver is it broke through the 200-day MA, broke through the 50 MA, holding above both. You do have a little bit of the iron cross in play here if the 200-day continues to move up above the 50-day, but it shouldn't as long as we are above that 50. It should make the 50 move back up at a higher rate. So it should stop that iron cross, but any hold here above that 50-day MA is pretty solid on silver. And then I also had nat gas. Let's look at nat gas. right about 425 here. Has been climbing up in general this week, down a little bit overnight. But with that being said, you can see here 3 days of gains, was trading here on Monday down at about 386. Nice move back up to 425. I had called for these, Steve called, Big Beat called for the short here when it hit 450. Nice move down. I said the same thing and took a nice move down here. And that was 2 quick scalp trades. I'm curious on the third attempt to break 450 here if it actually can. So I'm going to be a little bit more cautious here watching natural gas on that. Normally, I would say that 450 is a good spot to short, but with a bunch of things in play, especially the cold spell throughout the US and Europe, not sure I'd be shorting nat gas. Just so I wanted to point that out because we had talked at 450 as a level. In general, we look to short it, but I don't know that this time that all falls into place. What else was I looking at? Brent and WTI, oil overnight again. Both of those have pulled back a little bit. Some of it being, the talk of the ceasefire in, Hamas and with the Hamas and Israel. So hopefully that does come to fruition, helping out a little bit there. Also, a little talk of ease of supply maybe coming down the road here from some of our folks. Good morning there, Ron. Hope you're having a good day. So we'll see we get there, but oil's still kind of high here. Looking at treasuries, well, first let's look at the U.S. dollar. We talk about that every day. Money moves first. Watch the dollar for what you should see happen here. Dollar has regained most of the level. It dropped yesterday right on that CPI data, as you can see. Broke back above 109. It looks like it's continuing to rise here. So the strength of the dollar, there does not seem to be much that is able to, break that dollar strength. Dollar is king, as Steve Flanagan talked about. And again, this break above 109.28. And rates also moving back up a little bit here. So it looks like it was a knee-jerk reaction like we've talked about, and this perfectly explains, too, some of the things that we've talked about here, where you get a guy like Stephen Flanagan in, someone who was, a top dog at JP Morgan in their Forex division, basically running their electronic trading of Forex. And, he explains how these nowadays, all these algorithms are set up. Everything's computerized. And when a new news cycle comes up, a new economic data point, they all go into effect. And we saw that here. If we look at the dollar, at the hourly chart, yesterday that economic data comes out, and look at that move down in that 1 hour chart, right? Happens immediately. And now what we've seen is it's stabilized and now sort of trying to work its way back to the upside. And as I said, you can see that 10-year is trying to approach, or at least it was. It looks like today's economic data, again, doing the same thing. We had been moving much higher to the upside before the jobless claim and that retail data came out. So again, we're seeing a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction to the downside here. But we were poised to break above 4.7 again on the 30 and 4.9 on the 30-year. Leads me to believe that we definitely still, rates aren't going anywhere. Expect them longer for higher right now. And, part of that is driving the market, dynamics. So yesterday we saw those blow to the downside, right? And what do we see? We saw a great day across all the markets. SPY was up 1.82%, QQQ up 2.3%. Everything moved up really nicely there across the markets. Dow Jones was up 1.65. Everywhere you looked, the RUT was up pretty much 2%. So we definitely saw it across the markets yesterday. And that's why I'm looking at it today and saying it looks like we might see that pendulum move to the other side. We've also seen that a lot lately, right? It's been a mean reversal trade has been the number one trade most seen out there right now, most profitable for a while. Over the last few months has been taking advantage of this volatility to play the other side. As we talk about, if everybody's fishing on the left side of the boat, don't be afraid once in a while to throw your rod in on the right side of the boat and see what's over there to catch. And it looks like that Advanced decline opening up pretty close to flat so far. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out once we do get to the open here in 15 minutes. Does that jump up significantly one way or the other? But at 180, I mean, yesterday it was positive 6,000 at one point. So we'll see where that turns. Tick again, very neutral here at 30. We haven't seen a ton of movement, and we can see the VIX has dropped down to 1610. Still not at a level where I'm buying VIX. Again, you can see my zone here is between 1487 and 1250. That's where it starts to get interesting to me to buy, VIX protection for the future. Crypto, let's talk about crypto. It's been a pretty good day for crypto. Bitcoin had regained $100,000. And again, it has been moving downward this morning. I will say when it comes to Bitcoin, I did sell my swing trade yesterday. I did exit my Bitcoin swing trade. I had been in since 94 and change. Got out when it broke above 100,000 yesterday, right around 100,225, I think was where I got my fill. So good trade. Not saying Bitcoin can't go up. I just, all I do is, I look for these patterns. I've been very successful trading them, especially in the crypto field for those that have followed me since Prosper Trading days. You can see here, it has made, and actually I'm going to pull that down to the 101 level. So 101, we have broken it. We broke it back on December 5th. We took a nice run on it when we set, again, our new all-time high in mid-December. And we briefly broke above it here for a day or so in early January. But to me, that is a very solid resistance line right now. So for me, I play the ranges. What I'll do now is I will probably look to rebuy it. I'm not going to short it personally. I don't have that kind of conviction that it doesn't make a runaway move to the upside. So I'm not shorting Bitcoin. But what I will do is I'll look for any dip back down here towards that. Again, I like that 93 range the most, but anything under 95 to me starts to be a buy area on Bitcoin. So took advantage of that, took some profit, and, we'll look to rinse and repeat on that trade. And then full disclosure, also remember Bitcoin is my biggest holding, and 80% of it I never sell. The other 20% I do trade. So I do want to keep that in mind. Another one I talked about yesterday, Ripple. Wow, what a move Ripple has made here. Up just 330, blew away my expectations. Luckily, I was traveling and didn't sell it yet. I talked about it yesterday that if, on an approach of 290 there, I was looking to probably exit that position. I don't know if I'll do complete exit or not on Ripple, or if I'll hold a little bit still. Again, I've had that for a long time. So we'll see. There, I am going to put a sell order in at some point today there, probably in this 330 area. It's too attractive. Those, again, that have been with me since the Prosper Trading days, I went very heavy on Ripple after the SEC suit was announced and it dropped down. And then I've sold out of it, in tranches, and now still have about 25% less. So I might actually exit the position fully and see if we get a pullback or not. And again, my reasoning is it's just taken off. When you see something that, has gone in November, was trading at 80 cents and at 330, you got to take some profit. If you don't, again, we always say bears make money, bulls make money, pigs get slaughtered. So don't get slaughtered. Take some profit if you were in Ripple. Same thing, Cardano, another one that everybody knows I've been a long time holder of and proponent. You got to take some profits here. Could it make a run back to the 120, 130 area? Yeah, it could, but you can see the drop down it took again back here just a few weeks ago. Last time it made this run to 110, came all the way back to 88 cents. So don't get caught up in these things. Don't fall in love with your positions. Be willing to be nimble. And that is one that I probably will look at there. My other takeaways in the crypto market overall is total three is a number I like to look at. Total three is what I call the true alt markets. Bitcoin and Ethereum to me, not alts. They work in a different fashion. It's Bitcoin and everything else. And then Ethereum has that little 1A level it sort of sits at. And you can't really compare it to the other alts. And the reason I say that is, again, it's already gotten through its regulatory scrutiny. We have an SEC approved ETFs and all that stuff. Whereas with all the other alts, you never know. Tomorrow they could ban them all. But up 1.4% here. So we are seeing a little bit of an alt season. This stuff is important to keep an eye on because we do see resistance and support in these levels a lot of times. It just shows you where money flows are going. And you can see money has been flowing into the alts here over the last 4 or 5 days. If it gets up over about 1.13, that's where I'll be looking again. And that's why I haven't quite sold my Cardano today or some of these other alts, is I do think we got a little room up here to at least 1.1 trillion. So at 1.1 trillion, I'll start to reevaluate that and look to maybe take some profits there on some of my alt holdings. Getting back now into what happened overseas overnight. In general, we saw a mixed bag, actually, foreign markets. The Nikkei was down overnight. Let me make sure that's still the case. It is, yep, slightly down about 0.17%. And we can see the Nikkei has sort of been sliding, coming towards a support zone here. If it can be in that 38, 150 range, gets a little bit interesting there maybe for a play. Shanghai Composite up a little over a quarter of a percentage point. So China's still seeing some love again the last couple of days. And then a nice move up by the stocks. Europe actually come into the market here last 2 days, and a nice little gap up here today. Gets interesting, but here now we start to wonder, it's coming up on some key resistance here as it gets to that 522, 523 level. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. Mr. Flanagan, sometimes it's better to be lucky than skilled. Yes, sir. How are you doing today, Mr. Flanagan? The money markets were moving this morning, sir. They were moving, as you always teach us. So I will say mixed bag. It looks like today is going to be a stock picker day. What does it mean when we say a stock picker day? We are seeing a mixed bag. Some things are moving up, some things are moving down. Part of that being some news, whether it be earnings reports that are moving the markets, or whether it be talk of tariffs and what's going on, across the globe. And the big winners so far are XLK, which is technology, as I talked about. That's being led by the chip sector, although as I move over here to the Mag 7, NVIDIA having a nice day up here, also up 1.6%, Apple up, Microsoft up, Google getting hit a little bit, but in general, and Tesla down about 1%. But again, Tesla was up 8% yesterday. So again, mean reversal, right? Yesterday, 8% to the upside. We're seeing retracement. 3.5% to the upside, seeing retracement. Now, some of these aren't doing that. Are showing some continuation. So again, that's why it's a stock picker's market today. Be nimble, be looking at your charts to make these decisions. And I would not be looking to go long on profits. I would be looking to scalp and have day trades today. Outside of NVIDIA, which I'm in a longer term trade, I am neutral right now in the stock market. I will be looking today, since I'm home and can do some trading here this morning. We'll look to see what kind of trouble I can get into here today a little bit, especially since I got some of the profits from my Bitcoin trade there to play with today. So we'll see what we get there. Biggest loser is the healthcare sector. Oh, we do want to go into that. Healthcare, UNH, more problems for the healthcare sector. If I can find my note on that here. They dropped pre-market here after they missed top line revenue, and not by all that much, but I think that they just, there's been so much issues in the healthcare sector, just sort of coming in at expectation, definitely hurt them down almost another 2% here. On UNH. And if I pull up the article, they pointed specifically to I do want to point out the company did beat profit expectations, which it has done every quarter for the last 5 years. But they are concerned about medical costs continuing to rise and transparency and coverage. The CEO said the company is focused on making high quality, affordable healthcare more available to people while making the healthcare system easier to navigate. But investors are not impressed. Their revenue did increase 6.8% from a year prior. And their revenue for Optum, which is their pharmacy benefit manager business, increased 9.4%. I think that's what might be scaring people. I do think that, in the crosshairs of maybe Congress and the Senate is this whole, the PBM business, right? This whole pharmacy benefit manager business. And since that was one of the brightest spots in their earnings report, could be part of the reason we're seeing them slide to the downside here. But UNH definitely got hit here this morning, and that sector is moving to the downside. Another, let me get through my stuff here. So we talked about that. Talk a little bit about Southwest Airline. They are down about 2% this morning, or were down about 2% this morning when I did this. Yep, still is. They're going to be sued by the Department of Transportation for their chronic flight delays. I got to say, I think as consumers, everybody's sick of that. So this is one that, I think the public is going to rally about. Not a good for Southwest. And you can see the reaction that the market had there. We are seeing some quick rebuy here. So again, the initial reaction dropped to the downside. And the last 4 hours or so, we are seeing a little bit of reversal back up to the top. So we'll see what we get there when it comes to Southwest, but not a good look there. Another interesting note that I saw today, not that one, we already talked about it. EV and hybrids, saw that they now accounted last year for 20% of vehicles purchased in the U.S. I was a little surprised by that number. That's a pretty good number. I actually thought it would be lower, and 3.2 million electrified vehicles were sold last year. About 1.9 million of them were hybrids, and about 1.3 million were all electric. Takeaways there for me is, and Big Beats talked about this, right? He feels that we are still in the world of hybrid more so than in the world of EV at this point. Tesla did still continue to dominate the sales of the pure EV, but their market share did drop to about 49%. It had been much higher. So, and what we see is traditional vehicles, they decline in sales about 7.9%. So, that pump in EV is moving it in the right direction. Good to see that. I do think it is a positive move. Little steps forward. We crawl, we walk, we run. So I do think that is good to see in general. We are 2 minutes away from the open. We are seeing a slight move to the upside so far. QQQ is up about almost half a percentage point. Did regain the 50-day MA here in a nice spot here. Does look like, I think you've got room here to about 525 for sure. Sitting at 518. So on any kind of strength this morning, I'm looking for a move back up to the 525 area. Any kind of weakness in the market, I would look at that 50-day MA, which is right now sitting at 513.97. So right around that 514 would be the first line of support we'd be looking at with QQQ today. But definitely looking, since the economic data came out this morning, everything is moving to the upside. So we are having a little bit of strength here. SPY has not broken above its 50-day MA. Again, that 50-day MA is sitting at 494.27. It has tried to get across. It was knocked right back down by it. We'll see if it can get across it here this morning. That would be the first target I'd be looking at here. Second target would be 599.81. Good morning, Zora. How are you doing today? Hope everything is well. So those are the two levels I'm sort of looking at there on SPY and QQQ. Looking at the RUT. Definitely trying to see if we can get back up to that 2290 level on the RUT. 2290 would be sort of the upside potential today. Downside gets a little trickier here, about 2239, first level of support that I'm seeing. Whoa, just seeing that the top executive of China, Vanke, one of the country's largest property firms, has been taken away by police. They had talked about that there was going to be some changes in China, so we are seeing that. See if there's anything else. Okay, we are open. Tick opens to the upside here, 315. And there you go. Advanced decline jumps up to 2329 as the stocks that don't trade pre or post hours move. Let's see what we get here. VIX initial move to the downside. QQQ's initial move to the downside. SPY's initial move to the downside. So first move here has been to the downside on open. Let's see what happens here. Bitcoin trying to break back below 99,000 here. So the bear is trying to take control here, bring it back down. If we look at the mag, let's see, NVIDIA was moving to the upside, now moving back to the downside here. So NVIDIA trying to regain that 138, 139 handle and hold. Struggling so far, and we can see now Mag 7, most of these were green earlier in the pre-market, almost all of them outside of Netflix reversing to the downside here. NVIDIA, the only one showing true strength here, up 1.5%. Bitcoin is getting hit here back below the 99,000 handle here. Looking to see if Ripple gets a sell-off. Now, Ripple holding up so far. Again, I will be looking at shortening out that position. Microsoft moving to the upside here. Let's take a quick look and see what we're getting for pumpers so far. I will say the biggest gainers in the S&P and NASDAQ 100 overnight this in pre-market this morning were Applied Materials up 4.55%, ASML that we talked about up 4.52%, Lam Research up 3.81%, Broadcom up 3.23%. So a little bit of stuff there that was seeing some love this morning. Let's take a look at what's moving. So far, our biggest pumper so far today, we see BioAmerica, BMRA, taking a big pump here. Definitely a runaway. Looks like it might be halted here. BMRA, Wheeler, WHLR, another one that's a perennial pumper, so to speak, moving up here to the upside. Let's narrow this down to our S&P and NASDAQ 100. Biggest winners so far this morning, Super Microcomputer, SMCI up 5.65%. As I mentioned, Applied Material, AMAT up 3.92%, AMSML up 3.9%, Lam Research up 3.65% here. So we do see chips moving to the upside again. Teradyne's had a nice run. This was on this chart yesterday too. Teradyne, one of the big gainers again today here. So moving to the upside, seeing some energy names, Pacific Gas and Electric, Constellation moving to the upside. Morgan Stanley, we talked about, still moving to the upside. Palantir, which had been down, we talked about that last week, and it really dropped down, riding this 50-day MA. So looks like Palantir wants to continue its move up here today, riding the 50-day MA up here. Could be an interesting spot. I had said I liked buying it at that 66 spot. I didn't do that. I didn't do any trading while I was away. Oh, did you, Ron? I don't have our Slack up. So I didn't have that up. Sorry. Yeah, that is one of the pump. That's a perennial, what I call a perennial pumper. We have seen that in, our pumper section a few times. Let's see what's moving the other way. Charles River Labs down another 5%. They were down significantly yesterday also. So they continue to drop down. Wow. PNC Financial, and U.S. Bank Corp. I will point out both of these had earnings right around expectations, and just a pretty big drop. So if you're looking at maybe playing a, buy the dip, U.S. Bank Corp, PNC could get interesting here. Let's take a look at the charts on those two. See what we think here. You can see that's a little tough. U.S. Bank Corp's here. So you're going to hit resistance right about where it's at right now. Any kind of break above that 49.37, though, gives it a good spot. Let's look at PNC. PNC, a nice bounce off of support here. This one, you got room up to about 201, not two. You got about $10 here. It is dropping down, so it's continuing to drop. I like it as a play off of 188 for a play up towards 200. So it could get interesting. PNC, Enphase Energy. Another one dropping down here today. You can see it's been range trading between the 77.33 and about this 59 area, although it's held up pretty well in the 64 area. So this is an interesting one. This could be a one to play here. You can kind of see since November 19th, it's sort of bottom line support's been right around the level it's at right now at 64.07. Got to play up to the 70 line here, 70.06 at the 50-day MA, and then a run up to 77. So Enphase is an interesting one I might get into here. Let me add that to my list. So we'll take a look. I'm going to let the 10 o'clock hour go by and then take a look at what I get into here. But that's what I'm looking at there. I don't love in this position right now. Not to... Yeah, I don't like love at that position. And then if I'm looking here, if I think this fade is, if I think that we're going to fade out of this, what am I maybe looking to short here? SMCI probably be the one. Let's see what they're at. Yeah, SMCI would be one I would maybe be looking here if it gets rejected by that 50-day MA, maybe to play the downside back for a run into this area here around 20. I just don't trust SMCI yet. So that you could convince me to short that. ASML, that's a tough one. I'm not very positive on Europe in general. You could convince me here to short ASML, looking for a pullback to that 705 area. Let me look at this on a short-term chart. Hold it one second. Back below resistance here at about 755. I do like that. I might be looking here at a short on ASML with a target range. $7. 14. So yeah, that's not a bad little move. That can be a decent move. Okay. I do like this here. I think I'm going to be looking here shortly at a short on ASML here. I'd love to see it try to retest this. I'm going to be a little patient. I'm going to wait to see if it retests that 756 area and gets rejected. So on a rejection at 756 or so, I do like a short move here today on ASML, playing that mean reversion, coming back and looking for it to fill the gap back towards the 740 area. So I do like that move. We'll see. I just don't think the market's going to be spirit animals all day today like it was yesterday. But so far it is. So far it's moving to the upside. Everything looking pretty good. Can see NASDAQ a little bit of up and down. So we're seeing volatility again. That's why I sort of stay out of that first hour here. Sometimes if I'm looking more for a swing trade, there's just, I want to see these knee-jerk reactions that are hitting. I want to see which way they go there. Taking a look here to see what's coming across the line. Seeing Symbotic is about to buy Walmart's advanced system and robotics units. I wonder if that's moving Walmart stock at all. So Walmart's going to get out of the robotics. People that know that they tried very hard to sort of replace workers with robots in their stores. It hasn't worked out that well for them with those, sort of cash and go, carry and go type products. So they are looking to get out of that market. Walmart down about 0.22 on it. Not really making much of a difference here. So far we're holding up. So far market holding up pretty well. Let's see what we get here on. Give me 1 second to pull up our halts. See if we have anything coming off halt here we want to play. We'll say most of the headlines today based upon, strong earnings, easing inflation, should get the market going, but it's not giving it a huge move to the upside on the open here. It makes me think that it is people shot their shot yesterday. I think the bears are going to have enough to take control maybe here this morning for a bit. Bitcoin 98,717 here. Tick's holding up nicely, 396. Advanced decline, pretty neutral here at 265. That's fairly neutral. You don't see that too often. VIX has dropped down a little bit back to 1590 here. So the VIX has dropped back down to 1590. It looks like it's trying to climb here. Key resistance there we talked about yesterday, that 2281 area on the right, 2281. We got to break across. Gold holding up nicely above 2700 here. So gold looking to run, it looks like. Again, any sort of break above that 2725 area, and you could see a run straight up to the 2790 all-time high. So that's what we're looking at here. Any break above 2725 on gold, watch for a big move to the upside. Silver not seeing the same kind of love. So the money still seems to be flowing into gold, not silver yet. You can see on my screen, it's a mixed bag up and down, and even within sectors, you're seeing a mixed bag, e-commerce here, about half of them up, half of them down. Banks, half of them up, half of them down. We'll mention the JP Morgan now regaining some strength. It had been down in the pre-market hours. Didn't make sense after their great earnings report yesterday that they would be down today. So one that I probably should have been looking at earlier here when it was at that 250 level, for a bounce back this morning. Again, Wells Fargo had good earnings, but a definite mixed bag. Even restaurants seeing a little bit on both sides. Chipotle, Cava, Texas Roadhouse, Shake Shack, some of them green. And then on the downside, it looks like more of the fast food companies, McDonald's opening up down, QSR, which is Burger King and associated stuff, Yum C, all pointing to the downside. Domino's to the downside pretty significantly. Domino's down 2.36. Dave & Buster's getting hit pretty hard here, down 5.52. I don't see if there's any news there. Seeing that UBS analyst warned that Dave & Buster's may face ongoing traffic challenges as 2025 approaches, even as restaurant owners remain generally positive about consumer trends. They are big restaurants, tough to fill. Okay, let's see if they got any pumpers here. See what's going on with Wheeler here. WHLR was running this morning, pulling back here, so it looks like that run might be over there. Just fell below VWAP here, so I'd be careful there now. Let's see what Biomerica is doing. That's actually still holding up pretty well. Just re-challenge VWAP. Another re-challenge of VWAP here. This could run. BMRA still has room to run here. This is an interesting one. There it goes. It's going to try BMRA. We'll try that again. Bounced off VWAP again here. Still moving up a ridiculous amount today to the tune of 220%, but doesn't look like it wants to stop. And I do see the news on that is that the United Arab Emirates Ministry of Health has approved Biomerica's Fortel PSA screening to detect an early sign of prostate cancer. So this is based upon news out of the United Emirates. So very interesting to see there. But it's continuing to move up. Looks like it definitely wants to break to the upside here. You can see tried to approach VWAP and then just took off from there. And we see NVIDIA giving back, Mag 7 pulling back down. That's also the reason I think we're going to see a weaker day. The Mag 7 not looking as strong today. Had a nice strong day yesterday, and that looks to be leading indices to the downside. We do see advanced decline now, negative at 447, and the tick negative at 147. Like I said, it just seemed today it wasn't the same kind of open we saw yesterday. Let's see if the bulls can get back in control. But so far, the bears are leading their way through the day. Bitcoin back below 98 here again. So it looks like that sale I made was a good one. Again, I'll be looking here. At a level right around that 95 area. So right around 95, even maybe I'll set something right around 94.50, see if I can get a fill down there. If we can get a nice pullback today, we'll look for it. We just fell back below the 50-day MA here, trying to hold at that level. If we do hold at that level, could see a nice continuation play today, but I more think we're just seeing, lately that any type of move over 101 is bought up fairly quickly and moves to the downside. So we're going to continue with that philosophy here this morning. We'll see if we get a nice entry there again, but rinse and repeat, right? Gold holding up 27. Nat gas back above 4.25 here. Gets interesting, like we say. What does it do as it approaches 450? DXY not taking off today. It broke back above 109, but holding fairly steady here over the last few hours. So we haven't seen much of a move here across the Dixie. So that also should give some breath. Again, that's why you'll have a stock picker's market, I think, today. Let's see what goes on with the chips here. Definitely a mixed bag across chips. And we are now negative slightly on QQQ and SPY. We see advanced decline continuing to move to the downside. Like I said, does to me seem like today is going to be some profit taken, a little bit of people nervous quickly. It seems like the market is a little jittery, right? We see, just these spikes in both directions. Let's read what this says. XRP price surges past 3. These 3 factors are turbocharging the crypto. Let's see what they're saying here. Is the reason. They don't give us a reason. They're just saying it happened. Yeah, nothing there. That actually should do it. That's one of the most useless articles on crypto I've ever seen. As we look at the sectors of the S&P, we see XLU utilities bouncing back up today. So utilities seem to be the big winner today, up about 7/8 of a percentage point. XLI is showing a little bit of growth here, up 0.4, which is industrials. And lastly, XLF, which is financials, all showing a little bit of a move to the upside. Downside today, XLY, which is consumer discretionary, and we showed you those target numbers. And XLV, which is healthcare being dragged down by UNH. NVIDIA trying to bounce back up here. So again, this volatility is just spiking back and forth, but within a pretty tight range here. Even for the volatility we've seen in NVIDIA, it's staying within about a $2 range. So, and we do see Tesla now down 2.38%. So again, after being up 8% yesterday, seeing a little bit of a pullback here today. Netflix has the most strength out of the Mag 7, now up at 1.83%, but we know it had been on a multi-week drawdown there. Prudential getting hit pretty hard too, down about 3.43% here. Let's take a last look here at end phase. If it's continuing to fall, did bounce up, did regain VWAP. I want to see it get back above that 65.10, or I want to wait all the way to 60 and change here. So we're going to see here. I'm going to hold off. I'm not going to get into that end phase move yet. I was looking at buying the dip there. I just want to see if the market's going to show a little bit more strength here today, or are we going to continue just to slide down? Tick still negative 132, and we're seeing advanced decline, move more to the downside. We do see the RUT trying to go positive. QQQ has gone slightly positive. I think we might actually see a fairly flat day where we just see a lot of choppiness without a clear direction one way or the other. The market doesn't seem to be able to pick a clear direction one way or the other so far. Bears and bulls are battling it out. Love to see it. Could give us some nice volatility later in the afternoon. Again, my bigger plays that I'm looking at maybe are picking up some end phase here to the upside, looking at maybe shorting natural gas on any move up around that 450 level. Selling out of my Ripple today. most likely looking to pick up Bitcoin on any kind of drop back down to that 95,000 level. Those are the moves I'm looking at here today. Everybody, it is still early, Ron. It is still very early. That's what I mean. I'm not rushing in. I do want to point that out. We've had a couple of our educators the last few days talk about that, right? Yesterday we had on Bubba. Todd Horowitz from Bubba Trading. You know, the guy is a legend in the option world. We spent many years at the SIBO trading futures, and he talked about it. Sometimes no trade is the trade. Yesterday was a great day to jump in right at open. It looked, you could see the animal spirits were ready to take off. Today, I don't see those animal spirits in the markets. I'm not hearing that, you know, positivity. A lot of, you know, consternation about the Senate committee hearings. You know, there's just more of a mixed bag. Yesterday, everything was inflation is not that bad and we're ready to rock and roll. Now, as people are digesting that inflation numbers and everything else, and they start to look in the rearview mirror to drive a car forward, we're seeing the markets react in different ways. I do like a stock picker's day. It gives you some opportunities here to play both up or down. I would not in this market right now be too heavily weighted one way or the other. Please have positions going both, you know, protecting you both to the upside and downside. With that last statement, VIX getting down towards where you could start to look to buy some protection with the VIX. Again, I'd like to see it a little bit lowered, more down towards this, you know, 1487, 14 and change area is where I would like to maybe take that. You too, Zora. Have a great day. I do think it's going to be a fun trading day out there. We have a new session on at 11:30 today. Matthew Tuttle from Tuttle Capital, the folks behind MSTU, BTCL, a lot of those leveraged ETFs. He's doing his own podcast that we're going to be rebroadcasting for him here, both through Bullish Bears and through him. So that will be on at 11:30, replacing our normal show with Jeremy Vreeland and Matthew Tuttle. Jeremy will be back on Tuesdays. And then we have Scott Bauer and the team at Prosper Trading Academy up at 1 o'clock here. So everybody have a fantastic day. I'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. and I'll have a full day here in the office. So we'll have lots of fun things for you. Have a great one, everybody.